Hello to everyone. My name is Father Libirio. I'm from St. Mary's Parish in Brampton, the Mother Church of Brampton. Father Libirio Amaro. And with me?
And I'm Brian Finamore. I'm the Chaplaincy Team Leader at Cardinal Leger School, just around the corner, down the hill from St. Mary's Church. And Father, you're not only the pastor, you're a Brampton boy.
That's right, I am. And it's so great that I'm back here and to see the interaction that happens between the school and the parish is really wonderful. And one of the things that we did, that we initiated, and I think, to be honest with you, it started with you, Brian. I got to give you the credit. You want to give it me, but it's not. And it was the celebration of the Eucharist in procession, coming here at the beginning of the year and then concluding it. And it's been a wonderful sign of witness, I believe, eh?
Well, not only that, Father, but it also kind of uses our tradition and some of the symbols, and it uses it to foster a devotion to the Blessed Sacrament. Yeah. And I know that's a very big thing for you, and probably for all the priests in the Archdiocese, is that the students properly revere and respect the great gift of the Blessed Sacrament.
Well, we're all about Christ, and if we, in our Catholic faith, we believe that Christ is truly, truly present in the Blessed Sacrament. So, you know, when we're in the Catholic high school and we see the chapel, to see the Blessed Sacrament there as priests, we say, wow, the heart is present. The heart of a Catholic school is present with the Eucharist. And so having them in procession with the Blessed Sacrament, there's so much that comes out of that, you know.
Absolutely. Like, the biggest thing is, you know, at communion, priests will explain to the congregation, to the students, how sacred the Blessed Sacrament is, and kind of it gives some guidelines as to how you can properly receive the sacrament, who can receive, who cannot receive. And so for the kids to be able to see how seriously Father and the school takes the Blessed Sacrament. We take it in procession. There's altar servers, candles, incense. There's students lining the sidewalks. I think the kids can't help but see that this is not an ordinary thing. And so we're kind of we're doing catechetics.
Yeah, and evangelization as well.
Yes.
Because evangelization is a powerful word, and it really means having other people know about Christ.
Yes, and for sure. So the non-Catholics in the school, they see, and Father, you invite your 9 o'clock morning Mass people from St. Mary's to be a part of this. And you see the people, some with walkers, and some of the elderly people, they're in our procession. And for the kids to see, it's a real faith-sharing experience.
And even for the elderly, to have elderly people see youth, that sometimes they wonder, what's the next generation is like? You see them lining up and they say, wow, my faith is being passed on.
And Father, you've mentioned some of the things you see in the students as you go by with Jesus.
Oh, I do. I see them not only bless themselves, but some even genuflecting. And it's very rare in the last 2 years that I've seen anyone make fun or in any way do an action that would be disrespectful. They understand, even those who maybe aren't Catholic or maybe aren't practicing, they realize this is an important element of who we are, yes. And they're respecting that.
And it pays dividends, because I find, and I've been in high school ministry for over 28 years, the reverence in the chapel, it's not something that I have to continually go over, Father. So for the kids, I think to experience it, I think it kind of turns a light switch on in their mind that they have to revere this. And it has to be respected. And it's done in a very subtle and beautiful way. And I know, being Portuguese, the processions are a very big part of your culture, right?
Yeah, it is. And one of the things I'd like to also mention is I really appreciate the morning masses, although it's a commitment for us as well as priests. It's an extra mass, one can say, but I would encourage to all priests who might be hearing this, wow, we come here on Wednesday mornings at 7:45 till 8:15 for a morning mass, and to see teachers, students, very much connected with the Eucharist, and seeing them after the Mass going out into the greater population of the Mass, it's powerful.
It sure
really is powerful.
Yeah, it is. And I think part of the reason why the morning Masses are so well attended, Father, is because you and Leanne O'Leary, you encourage the classes, the homeroom classes, to come over to be a part of the Thursday morning regular St. Mary's Church Mass. So the kids go over, they see you, they get to know you, and you're really larger than life in the...
yes, I know.
in more ways than one.
Yeah.
But the kids, they go over, they learn the prayers, they learn... and then of course with the kids, it's all about being familiar, right?
Yes, it is, yeah.
It breaks down some of the mystery and the fear, and the kids come. And I have to say too, Father, that you're very welcoming when people come a bit late. I've never heard you ever scold someone for being late. And we do have people coming even after the Gospel, but the chapel really fills up, and I think the friendliness. I think to celebrate the Eucharist and not have that friendliness, you could actually be setting things back.
Yeah.
So the attitude of I think of the celebrant has a lot to do with it.
Well, you know, one of the things, when we connect with the school, we begin to enter the lives of the teachers and the students, and we realize that life is not as straightforward as we might think. Even before this taping, as you know, we had issues that we were dealing with, very important issues, which you dealt with, and because I was here, by the grace of God, we were also able to deal with an issue that came up that Christ was present, I would say. It's great to see that the connection that we have between school and parish, and in this case that we had to deal with, home. It really makes that a reality.
Well, the young girl, just to explain a little bit of context, a young girl's mother was diagnosed with cancer yesterday, and the first place she wanted to come was to the chapel to say a prayer. She mentioned that her mummy said the rosary immediately after being diagnosed, so the faith is really alive in that family. And then when she came down to ask for me, she saw Father Libirio. We were just waiting to tape this little discussion, and she said, "Father, you know my mom." And how beautiful was that? So Father was able to bless her and talk to her for a minute. So it was really the gift of Catholic education. And
it really is, yeah.
Yes. And of course, being present, I think, you know, the sacramental presence of a priest wearing the collar in the school, walking through the school, talking to the kids, that accomplishes so much. So to priests who are watching this, who are maybe hesitant, I think that a priest or a religious, a nun, wearing their habit, walking through the school, the kids will never forget that.
Yeah.
They will always remember, or they'll even think that a priest was in their school when they were going to high school, and they'll be telling their kids about that. So there's a great gift. And
even today, we talked about the more we have contact, the more we realize what's happening and how we can help. Even today, with your with the principal, you know, we talked about you have a food bank, and you're collecting a lot of food items, but you have a food bank. And how can we as a parish help out? I mean, that's important too, because I know even with the procession of the Blessed Sacrament, one thing we can't come to realize is our parishioners, they realize that there is a reality beyond their own home, and a high school next door becomes that reality, and how they can also help out. It's wonderful to see. You know, it reminds me all those who have come here after the procession. They were really happy to see the atmosphere of a high school they had never been in. So they passed by, driven by, and all of a sudden to be welcomed into a high school after a Eucharistic procession. For many of them, it was almost emotional. It really was. So this is what the high school looks like. Wow! And to have also students giving them cookies and providing them with coffee and all of that. It does form bonds. Yeah, transgenerational. It does, it does. Yes. And I know, Father, and
I've worked with you now for 3 years. In our relationship, and I just mentioned this, is that before we celebrate Mass or before Father and I do anything, I always email Father and I suggest this is what we're proposing to do. And Father, you make some wonderful suggestions. And I just want to mention one thing in particular. The last Mass, I submitted the hymns. Father is wonderful. I try never to surprise him. And I don't believe in that adage that it's easier to ask forgiveness than it is to ask permission. So I always ask up front. And Father, you suggested that for the Mass that we try to stick to the hymns that are in the hymn books. Yeah. And so we did that. And quite often in the past, in other schools I've worked in, we try very hard to sing music that really isn't Catholic. And we really sing songs that maybe kids learn in their Pentecostal church, and they're not part of our tradition. So just in singing the song, this is a little thing, but it was a big insight for me. Our kids know those songs. The Catholic kids know their responses. Yeah. We owe it to them to sing our songs. And occasionally maybe enter during communion or something, a spiritual song from another tradition. But sometimes I think we try too hard at the expense of our own tradition. What do you think, Father?
Well, and that's why the celebration of the Eucharist, the procession, are all statements about who we are. It's easy to be able to just take the Blessed Sacrament, put it in the car, drive it to a high school, place it in the tabernacle, done. It's finished. What we have here within this very chapel is what they have. But how we do it can speak volumes.
Yes.
It can speak volumes.
And I also have to really mention as well, Father, the youth group that you have. And like we have students here really fighting to be altar servers and to be readers. Yeah. I've really never had that experience before. I'm usually begging and bribing kids to do it. Yeah. But how, like, this is kind of feeding you a question here, but how important do you think it is for chaplains to take advantage of the good work that's being done by youth groups in the parish?
Well, again, it's another tool that's available to chaplains. Sometimes, I would say, we don't know what the other is doing. And it's not for any ill malice or anything. It's just that sometimes communication isn't open. And so to be able to know what a parish is doing, to be able to know what a high school is doing, and how we can combine, connect together, can have a powerful effect. Because, as you know, your job and my job, it's basically to bring the light of Christ to the lives of people, to get them, have them know that Christ is alive. And we do it in our own, of course, in our own little ways. It's different how we do it in the parish because it's more sacramental, and then we do it in the high schools. But how we can connect has a great effect on the lives of people, and it really can bring out the best of who we are.
Yeah, that's well said. And Father, I'd like to thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
And this morning at Mass, you asked us to pray for a priest friend of yours.
Yeah, Father Italo Reich.
Yes.
Recently passed away, and I was remembering him in the prayers. But one thing I'd like to finish off, if I may, which is, I hope you don't feel that this is a love-in, where he's praising me and I'm praising him. Please. It's just that we're working so very well, and I've been blessed to have a wonderful team at Cardinal Leger to be able to work with. And I believe that all high schools have wonderful teams, just as I believe all parishes have. The best of us just needs to come out.
That's right.
So I thank you for the relationship we have.
May it continue a long, long time, Father Libirio.
Thank you.